When you vote for president, your vote doesn't actually go to the president. It goes to someone you've probably never heard of. In fact, it goes to one of 538 people scattered across the country. And they are the ones who officially pick the winner. They're called electors. And this system, the Electoral College, is the reason a candidate can win the most votes in America and still lose the election. Here's how it actually works. First, clear up the name. The Electoral College isn't a place. There's no college, no campus, no building. It's a process, a group of 538 people who come together once every 4 years to do one job. Cast the votes that actually elect the president. So, where does that number come from? Add it up. 435 members of the House of Representatives, 100 senators, plus 3 votes for Washington, D.C. 435 plus 100 plus 3 equals 538. To win the presidency, you need more than half of them, 270. Here's the first thing they don't teach you. When you fill in the bubble for a candidate, you're not really voting for that candidate. You're voting for a slate of electors. People pledge to support that candidate in your state. Vote for candidate A, and you're really telling your state, send candidate A's team of electors. So who are these electors exactly? In most states, you never even see their names on the ballot, but they're real people, chosen ahead of time by each political party in each state. Usually they're loyal party members, local officials, activists, longtime supporters. When your side wins the state, that party's hand-picked slate becomes your state's electors. Now, here's the part that surprises people. In almost every state, it's winner take all. Win the state by a single vote, or by 5 million, and you get all of that state's electors. Second place gets nothing. It's like a poker game where the winner rakes the entire pot, and the runner-up goes home empty-handed, even if they lost by 1 chip. Only 2 states break that rule, Maine and Nebraska. They still give 2 electors to whoever wins the state overall, but the rest are handed out district by district, so their votes can actually split between candidates. Every other state, plus D.C., is all or nothing. Here's something surprising. Winner take all isn't in the Constitution either. The founders never required it. Each state gets to decide how it hands out its electors. So, why did almost every state choose winner take all? Because going all in makes your state matter more. If you split your votes, candidates can ignore you. If it's all or nothing, they have to fight for you. Each state adopted it to maximize its own clout. And once a few did, the rest followed. Now watch what winner take all does to the math. Every state gets a minimum of 3 electoral votes, no matter how few people live there. So a voter in Wyoming, one of the least populated states, carries more electoral weight, person for person, than a voter in California. The smallest states get a built-in boost, and that's baked into the design on purpose. This is why presidential campaigns ignore most of the country. If a state reliably votes one way, why campaign there? You can't win more than all of its electors. So, candidates pour nearly everything into a handful of swing states that could tip either way. Picture a national election where the candidates only really campaign in about 7 states, because those are the only ones in play. A vote in one of those battlegrounds is worth a fortune of attention. A vote in a locked-in state barely moves the needle. So, what do these electors actually do? On a set day in December, they gather in their state capitals and cast their official votes for president. Those votes get signed, sealed, and sent to Congress. So here's the full timeline, start to finish. You vote in early November, the electors cast their votes in mid-December, Congress counts them on January 6th, and the new president is sworn in on January 20th. That whole stretch, from your ballot to the inauguration, is the machine quietly turning. Then, in early January, Congress meets to count them. Whoever crosses 270 is officially the president-elect, which means, technically, the election you watch in November is just a very well-informed prediction, until that count makes it real. But here's a loose thread. The electors are real people. So, what if one of them goes rogue and votes for someone else? That's called a faithless elector. It's rare, it has never actually changed the outcome of an election. And in 2020, the Supreme Court ruled that states are allowed to require electors to keep their pledge, and even punish them if they break it. Now the strangest part of the whole machine. Because of winner-take-all and the small state boost, you can win the most votes in the entire country and still lose the election. It has happened 5 times in American history. One of the most dramatic was the election of 1876, which was so bitterly disputed it had to be settled by a special commission. So, why would anyone build something this convoluted? Because in 1787, the founders couldn't agree on how to pick a president at all. Some wanted Congress to choose. Some wanted a straight popular vote of the people. The Electoral College was the compromise wedge between those two camps. It was also shaped by slavery. Under the 3/5 compromise, enslaved people, who were not allowed to vote, were still counted partially to boost the number of electors given to slaveholding states. It's an uncomfortable piece of the design, but it's part of the historical record, and it's why the system is often called a product of compromise. The original version was so clumsy it nearly broke right away. At first, each elector cast 2 votes for president, and whoever came in second automatically became vice president. In 1800, that produced a tie, and it was thrown to the House of Representatives, which took 36 separate rounds of voting to finally settle it. So, in 1804, the 12th Amendment fixed the flaw. From then on, electors cast 1 vote for president and a separate vote for vice president. One more what if. What happens if nobody reaches 270? Then the decision goes to the House of Representatives. But with a strange twist, each state delegation gets exactly 1 vote. Wyoming and California perfectly equal. Since the 12th Amendment, that's only happened once, back in 1824. So, step back and look at the whole machine. You vote, your state counts the votes. The winner takes all of your state's electors, except in Maine and Nebraska. Those electors meet in December, Congress counts in January, and the first candidate to 270 wins. So, is the Electoral College a good idea? People have argued about that for 2 centuries. Here's both sides. You decide. Supporters say it protects smaller states, so candidates can't just camp out in a few big cities. They say it forces candidates to build broad coalitions across many regions, and they say it usually produces a clear, fast winner, no national recount. Critics see it differently. They point out that the candidate with the most votes can still lose, which they argue breaks the basic idea of 1 person, 1 vote. They note that candidates ignore most of the country to chase a few swing states, and they say a voter's power shouldn't depend on which state they happen to live in. Both sides have a point. That's why the debate never really ends. People have tried to change or abolish it for more than 200 years. It survives for a simple reason. Replacing it would take a constitutional amendment, 2/3 of Congress and 3/4 of the states. And the states that benefit most from the system have little reason to vote away their own advantage. But there's a clever workaround already in motion. Remember, each state controls how it awards its electors. So a group of states has agreed to give all their electors to whoever wins the national popular vote, but only once enough states join to guarantee 270. It's called the National Popular Vote Compact. It hasn't taken effect yet, but if it ever hits that threshold, it could change everything without touching the Constitution. So, the next time you hear every vote counts, here's the fine print. Every vote does count, but thanks to winner-take-all, some votes count for a lot more than others, depending entirely on which state you happen to live in. That's the Electoral College, not a place, but a compromise, more than 2 centuries old, that still decides who runs the country. Now you know.